This one's called The Process. Stow your faith in the process. A thing must be broken before it can be mended. In the West you might be a work in progress, but in the East you are made complete by your fault lines. Your ritual fractures are not concealed, but joined with veins of gold, so all the world can see your glimmering history of breaking points. Scar tissue thickens your hide, but first you must find the will to collect wounds. It should grace more conversations that with our shattered bones we powder the beaches and mulch the forest floors. By the living topsoil of our past transgressions we bunch and dilate. And so the metronome is maintained that orchestrates all who crawl the underside of the dome. And I wrote these in a book so I would look more like a poet. I've been recently lucky to start writing for this blog that Steve does. It's a fantastic blog, and and Steve is an amazing blogger, just shouting that out. Learnt a lot from Steve already, and I wrote a blog recently on the idea of waking up from the Matrix, and usually with these blogs we each try and write a poem, and I've failed to do so far, except for this time, so I wrote this, and anyway, I'll stop talking and just read it. It's called Child. This prospering tongue found my mouth just as the mute founded Morse code. Another blameless and blinking oracle, expanding and contracting, chattering over the aching, desirable, endlessly unachievable, gasping lobotomy of thoughts that eluded my grasp once more. Matryoshka, you keep bringing me down. The summit of your toothless maw are the roots of another mountain, and I am levelled to the base, grounded in an unculled lamb's skin, and like the devil's needle pinned into every man-made plan, the butcher's knife still rests in the chopping block, waiting to cleanse the killing floor with the water of the innocents. Child, you are an ancient creature. I can see it in your behaviour. Despite appearances, you have been here before. Closely listen, neonate. Your womb was an ill-fitting shoe, and you, apostate who abandoned catacombs of doubt, those bottled night terrors, memories sunken intravenously of the tribes that no longer served you, of the flesh that outlasted its tattoo. Open your eyes, raise your lips and ready your hands. This is the scorched earth of the blind, where the native tenancy live under the roof of falsehoods. Such is the sieve of the thinking mind. And on entering the oldest, most prolific and largest cult yet alive, where the local sport is in plucking the wings off of flies and turning them into walks, you would do well to remember, we did not make it to the ends of our world by believing in the monsters drawn at the edges of our maps. Child, you are irradiated with it, the glow of a liberated spirit, and you will find these strung-up adults knotted in webs of their own making will feed from you, exact from your atomic bloom, and bed into your ungoverned vision, and at the last hurdle dismantle and correct it with the blackest of envies, for you are the vacancy of an unaltered spot, the precarious junction of pure and ambrosial infancy to which they are magnetized as relentlessly and as inevitably as the wandering wisps of the unfinished are doomed to starve forevermore. Thank you. And this one's called, what's it called? Insects Confused by Window Panes. Upon reflection, we were little more than objects flying through space, insects confused by window panes. The litanies of our profitless busying were just another sequence of lies etched into the book. However aimless our transits were perceived, we were the transporters of ideas, from one fruiting body to the nameless next, compounded to pollinate, whether conscious of the fact or not. Each of us, scribbler, speaker, listener, had seen enough to know we were blind. Sight was not necessary to a functioning ecology. On the contrary, it proved a hindrance. Nobody's loan granted the time to know it all, and those who knew too much were often crippled by it. Together, we knew only after our volley of voices could we come a little closer to mapping our cave. Yet on listening too carefully to those who bounced back and returned the soonest, we lost ourselves in the echo chamber. We were born on the wrong side of the revolution, unable to admit our irrelevance, that all purposes had been fulfilled, and we were the guests who had long outstayed their welcome, the aspirant wordsmiths at the bottleneck of the apocalypse. What else was the goal of this gathering but to pool our individual distortions in another attempt to unmask reality? For each of us came like a shard of a broken mirror putting itself back together. For each of us daily felt as displaced fragments of a larger, unresolved picture, the result of some unspoken violence. This was no secret, but a naked fact, as honest as a fresh wound. Like the unutterable taboo hovering over the family dinnerscape, the wayward pairs of strange feet covertly swan-necking under the table, the motivation beneath all other motivations, that driving force to our being, a wailing desire to feel fused and reconnected to the whole. But we, the unravelled, only further pulled the thread loose. We quartered the weather into seasons, and with words dismembered all else, until we drove ourselves out to the maddening distance and kissed the point of no return. This is a poem called Bats. The whole expanse of one's life can be a sweeping meditation, an experiment realised sooner or later with no known end date. I file this thought to the front of the drawer, into the quiet night, when the street is deserted, and the last of the stalked bulbs blink themselves wide into the oblivion of sleep, and I sit on the edge of the bed, with a steaming cup of tea, placating this parliament of voices by joining an audience of houseplants potted on the window ledge, as they watch, with learnt anticipation, the eaves of the houses opposite the street. There is a silent spectacle played out overhead whilst the human herd is drunk with dream, a tenebrous dance whose uncertain existence is only upheld by us few voyeurs who have combed every peephole. For only when the light is swept and the warm bodies cooled do the actors emerge from their wings, wrapped as they were in their folded umbrella gowns, cocooned moonfruit, players waiting patiently to bruise the slate roofs and dart between chimney stacks. And when their claws first appear, they grasp the cusp of the eaves like newborns clasping their mother's fingers. Their horns poke out inquisitively, twitching and probing, swivelling like satellite dishes, absorbing the unscripted frequencies that litter the night. And when the shifted molecules settle, and their pulses align to the thrumming menagerie of veins which bind the globe twice over, they drop from their crooked hiding spots like bridge suicides. These devilled pygmies, erasing the torches of fireflies as precisely and economically as weights sailing across zip lines. They are the soundless and phantasmic, raising and lowering the scenery, maintaining the unhealed and absolute black attached to the background of all observable action. And I am convinced, when I glimpse these agents of fate operating in other planes, conversating by synaptic flashes, I am witnessing the onset of delusion and delirium. For the moment I see them is the moment I lose them. I can't be sure they were ever there. This one's called Theophagy, and a Theophagy is someone who what is this, a Theophagy? Theophagy is someone who commits an act of theophagy, and an act of theophagy is the act of eating one's own God. It's a weird introduction, but I feel like you need to know that to understand the poem a bit. Anyway. My fingers, wandering as they do when my attention has drifted, found you, my little boyish girl, rolled up with the lint in my back pocket, like the scrunched scribble of a dead insect, the wreckage of a pilot who moved too slow. My little cherub, I stretched out your crumpled wings, and with a molten breath drawn from my deepest cavity, I blew into your squashed body and watched it balloon into life. And now, my little girlish boy, my void of identity, I look at you and ingest every detail of your unsexed schematic. My virgin wilderness, my flightless wishbone, please forgive me. I thought I had swallowed you years ago. No wonder I have tramped through this life, empty-bellied and salivating, sporting a lump in my throat. And yet here you are now, spat out, no longer pouched in your nursery. My young little foundling, with your fawn set of dreaming eyes and your pair of unsteady legs, we shall shamble forwards together. Pay no mind to the lead latched around your neck. Where you stumble, I shall pick you up this time. Where you fall, I will follow. I will feel your pull, no matter the distance nor the degree to which you drift. No matter how we appear to split, we will remain as one whole particle. My lost and found medicine. When I gulp you back down, what foreign objects will you push out of me? My scrumptious coagulant, let me take you away from here, out of the sunlight. The lonely eye of the Cyclops flays everything, but it is in the blackness we break our teeth on the bones that scaffold the beast. My boyish girl, by the measure of today, you are an unresolved freak, but by the ancient rule of the Greeks, you are a demigod. My sweet and unrealized sacrifice, you are a demigod, and I am your devoted Theophagite.